And our correspondents and analysts are also standing by as we cover all the news that's breaking right now. First, let's go to our congressional correspondent, Phil Mattingly. He's up on Capitol Hill. Phil, walk us through these truly historic and dramatic developments.
Well, Wolf, a whirlwind last couple of days that really came to an end, a jarring end with 3 words. Trump is done. That was the message from House leaders behind closed doors, according to sources in the room, making clear that not only were they going to pull the health care bill, they were going to move on from the issue they campaigned on year after year after year completely.
The pressure, the arm twisting, the ultimatum, they have all fallen short.
I will not sugarcoat this. This is a disappointing day for us. Doing big things is hard. All of us, myself included, we will need time to reflect on how we got to this moment, what we could have done to do it better.
House Speaker Paul Ryan deciding to pull the Republican Obamacare repeal and replacement plan, hours after traveling to the White House to tell President Trump directly he didn't have the votes to pass it. And warning, one source said, that the loss on the House floor could be big.
Obamacare is the law of the land. It's going to remain the law of the land until it's replaced. We did not have quite the votes to replace this law. And so, yeah, we're going to be living with Obamacare for the foreseeable future.
A jarring realization less than 24 hours after the president himself made his final offer. Vote now or he's prepared to move on.
I think we have to let Obamacare go its way for a little while, and we'll see how things go. I'd love to see it do well, but it can't. I mean, it can't. It's not a question of, gee, I hope it does well. I would love it to do well. I want great health care for the people of this nation. But it can't do well. It's imploding and soon will explode.
Democrats taking a victory lap.
Frankly, I thought they might have accomplished something in the first couple of months. I think the mistake really was they were so focused on embarrassing the Affordable Care Act rather than trying to improve it.
The healthcare setback, a stunning turn of events from the cautious optimism of the morning.
How you feeling this morning?
Feel great.
Yep. Do you guys think you're going to get the votes?
Yeah, we'll get it done today.
And even a few hours after that.
For CNN, I wondered, how are things going? What are you hearing from your members right now?
Going great. We'll just continue talking to members, getting ready as we move forward. Always confident.
But sources tell CNN the votes simply never materialized, and it became clear leaders were actually losing votes based on the compromise designed to bring conservatives aboard. The deal on the table would strip the 10 essential health benefits required in insurance plans by Obamacare, something moderate Republicans already wary of the bill were telling leaders was simply a bridge too far, sources said. This is all happening as the debate on the bill was ongoing, leaving members to question what, if any, path forward existed, and leaving the president to answer questions about a looming failure of his first and biggest legislative push.
Do you think it's going to pass?
See what happens.
Did you rush it, do you think?
Thank you.
We'll see what happens.
Thank you.
And Wolf, the recriminations, the blame game, that's certainly already starting. You can hear it from aides behind closed doors. But the big question now is, as you noted, those growing pains the speaker referred to, there is a very ambitious agenda that the president and this House Republican leadership wants to accomplish going forward, starting most notably with tax reform. Is this a harbinger of failures to come, or can they grow and get past this? That is a question right now nobody I'm talking to has the answer to, Wolf.
All right, Phil, thanks very much. Phil Mattingly up on the Hill. Let's get reaction to all of this from the top Democrat in the United States Senate, the Minority Leader, Chuck Schumer. Senator, thanks very much for joining us.
Hi, good. Hi, how you doing?
Good.
Good to see you. They were just turning the monitor off.
I know you got a nice smile on your face. I want you to listen to the shout out you got from the president, his reaction to having the Republicans pull this health care bill. Listen to this.
I think the losers are Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, because now they own Obamacare. They own it, 100% own it. And this is not a Republican health care. This is not anything but a Democrat health care. And they have Obamacare for a little while longer until it ceases to exist, which it will at some point in the near future. And just remember, this is not our bill, this is their bill.
Okay, Senator, your reaction.
Well, it's a tall tale, another one by President Trump. They never reached out to us. They never talked to us. They never said, how can we work together to make it better? The failure is, of course, completely among the Republicans, President Trump and the Congress. They weren't even trying to get Democrats involved. And now it's about time for the president to lead, not to name call, not to blame, but to lead, to simply say people are going to suffer and someone's to blame. That makes no sense at all. If you're a real president, you care about people suffering, and we're ready to work with the president. Let them take repeal off the table. Let him and Speaker Ryan, Mitch McConnell say we're not repealing, and we'll work with improving Obamacare. We'll work with them on improving Obamacare. But in the meantime, for the president to do things to make Obamacare worse and have millions of people suffer, to make sure it doesn't work when CBO says it is working, he's wrong about that, that's not being a president.
Listen to how the Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan, reacted. Listen to this.
I think we were probably doing the Democrats a favor. I think we were doing the architects of Obama a favor by passing this law before it gets even worse. Well, I guess that favor is not going to be given to them, and it's going to get worse. And so I don't think the architects of Obamacare, I'm sure they may be pleased right now, but when they see how bad this thing gets, based on all the projections we're being told by the plans that are participating in Obamacare, I don't think they're going to like that either.
All right, go ahead and react to the Speaker.
Well, again, Obamacare is working for millions of people. That's why there was such an outcry when they decided to repeal it. Can it be improved some? Of course. We've always said that. And once the Republicans take repeal off the table, we're willing to work with them to improve it. But it's far, far better having it than not having it. 20 million people covered, pre-existing conditions taken care of, college kids who graduate from college can get on their health care plan, women's health care taken care of, senior citizens getting reasonable cost health care, all of which would have been undone by Trump Care, and that's why the public was on our side. Last polls I saw, 57% against Trump Care, rather keeping and improving ACA. So we're willing to work with them, but they got to take repeal off the table. You know, it was very easy for 7 years for them to decry this. But I will say this, you know, there were two problems, two reasons this failed. That President Trump failed. One is incompetence. I've never seen such incompetence. They put together a bill that doesn't have the support of so many of their own party. Nobody, hardly anyone on the outside opposed it. AARP supported it, AARP against it, AMA against it, hospitals against it, nurses against it. And second, you can't, and this is a lesson for them for the future, you cannot govern from the hard right. This bill, the only people who really benefited were the very, very wealthy, people above $250,000 a year.
Who do you blame for their failure?
Pardon?
Who do you blame for their failure? I'd like you to name names.
Well, I mean, the bottom line is President Trump proved to be incompetent. There was no art of a deal here. Even his great technique, I'll threaten them, I'll pull out, and then they'll come back to me, didn't work. Leader Ryan, I like him a great deal. He's a good man, but I don't understand how you can put a bill on the floor before so many of your members have signed off on it and don't like it. So there's a lot of blame all on the Republican side to go around.
If Republicans can't come together and agree on a new health care bill to repeal and replace Obamacare, what, if anything, are you, the Democratic leader in the Senate, going to do to reach out to Republicans and try to work with them on a bipartisan basis to find some solutions to fixing Obamacare?
That's just what we want to do. If they take repeal off the table, we're willing to sit down with them and improve Obamacare. It's doing a good job, but there are places that it can be improved, no question about it.
What would you want to improve?
Well, there's a whole lot of things. I'm not going to get into a whole list now. We've introduced legislation making drug prices lower, providing Medicare maybe for more people, making sure the insurance companies don't get away with everything by giving more power to the insurance companies, more competition through a public option. There are all kinds of changes that we're willing to make Obamacare better. But they got to get off this kick of repeal, and I did not see Speaker Ryan say that. And Donald Trump's saying, ha, everyone will now suffer. Well, only if he tries to make it worse, and that wouldn't be what a president is supposed to do.
And even as this legislation was going down, they were pulling the actual bill. The president phoned the Washington Post, Bob Costa over at the Washington Post, And he said this, and let me put it up on the screen. As you know, I've been saying for years that the best thing is to let Obamacare explode and then go make a deal with the Democrats and have one unified deal. And they will come to us. We won't have to come to them after Obamacare explodes. Will you come to the president now and try to make what he calls a unified deal?
Well, as I said, if they take repeal off the table, absolutely. They've tried to repeal it. They failed. If they keep trying to repeal it, we won't be able to do anything. So, of course, we'll come to them. And it's about time for the president to act like a president, not to make people suffer, make things worse by making Obamacare worse. It's a good bill now. He can try to make it better. That's fine. But this idea, ha, 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 people will suffer. That is not what a president's supposed to be. We're not gloating that they failed. We're sad that they won't work with us to improve Obamacare.
What lessons, Senator, will you take from this health care episode right now to apply to upcoming items on the president's legislative agenda? Because now he says the priority number one for the White House is tax cuts, tax reform.
Okay, the number one lesson here is to aim things at average families, working families. Obamacare had huge tax cuts on the very rich, and then they made everyone else pay more. And their main focus was to give tax cuts to the rich. If tax reform is the same way, and the overwhelming benefit goes to the top 1%, it will fail again. So the lesson that they should learn is focus on middle-class people. The president talks about average working families, but it seems every one of his policies moves in favor of the powerful few special interests, the very wealthy.
Are you willing to work with him on legislation on tax reform?
Well, we have to see what the legislation is, but if it's anything like health care, they don't talk to us. They just put down a piece of legislation and say, if you want to be bipartisan, you have to support it, even when it doesn't help the American people. That didn't work last time, and it won't work this time. You know, obviously, if they're going to help middle-class people, it's something we'll look at. They have to put a proposal down first. We'll see what it's like.
We'll see what it's like indeed. They haven't done that yet. While I have you, Senator, let me shift gears for a moment. The House Intelligence Committee Chairman Devin Nunes, he canceled a hearing scheduled for next week that the committee no longer will be hearing in open session from the former Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper, the former CIA Director, John Brennan, the former Deputy Attorney General, Sally Yates. The chairman, Devin Nunes, still hasn't shared the information he says shows what he calls incidental collection of the president's communications or his sources. How confident are you in this investigation right now?
Well, I don't have much confidence in Chairman Nunes. You know, the intelligence committees in the House and Senate have had a grand tradition of bipartisanship. Democrats and Republicans put parties at the door when they check into that SCIF, the intelligence room where they can talk about classified information. Nunes seems to be much more of a partisan. And that is a very, very bad thing, and it could destroy a grand tradition. So I hope he either comes to his senses or maybe Speaker Ryan replaces him.
Do you think there's better cooperation in the Senate Intelligence Committee, Richard Burr and Mark Warner?
There have been a few bumps in the road, but Mark Warner, I think, has done a very, very good job. So has Adam Schiff. They both have. But Mark Warner has done a very good job, and even though on occasion Chairman Burr has lost some of our full faith and credit, you know, when he tried to call reporters, for instance, and tout the administration line, I think things are working much better in the Senate, absolutely.
Do you think there needs to be an independent and outside commission to investigate?
Look, I've always thought that the best way to go is that way, particularly if the intelligence committees can't do it on their own. So we'll have to wait and see. I have faith in Mark Warner and the Democrats on the Intelligence Committee. Some of the Republicans have been very bipartisan as well. We'll see where that goes.
Is there evidence of collusion?
Well, you know, I'm not going to get into any details about classified briefings I have heard.
Well, can you just give us a sense of what you don't want to say anything on that?
No, I'm very careful about that kind of thing.
Well, if they were to find some collusion or cooperation between what they call Trump associates and the Russian government, and their meddling in the elections, going ahead in the cyber attacks and all of that, what would be the remedy?
Well, I'm not going to, again, Wolf, I'm not going to speculate on something like that.
All right, I understand.
But good try, good try.
All right, it's always a good try. Before I let you go, your party now, you say, plans to filibuster President Trump's U.S. Supreme Court nominee, Judge Neil Gorsuch. You said if he doesn't get 60 votes, the answer isn't to change the rules, it's to change the nominee. But is that a dangerous approach? Because you know that Mitch McConnell, he can unload what's called the nuclear option that would require only 51 votes for confirmation.
I hope he won't. I think there are some members of his own caucus who don't want to do it. And let's not forget, had Mitch McConnell not held up Merrick Garland for a whole year, we wouldn't even be talking about this. I have always believed that Supreme Court justices should get 60 votes. You know, they call it a filibuster. It's just 60 votes because there should be some bipartisan buy-in. And the last four have, Wolf. The two George Bush nominees, Roberts and Alito, the two Barack Obama nominees, Kagan and Sotomayor, all past that 60-vote threshold. There's no reason why Gorsuch shouldn't. And if he can't, the answer is not change the rules, but change the nominee.
50 Alito had 58. He didn't get
Well,
that,
no,
that
but there
60.
was a cloture vote where he had over 70.
Yeah, but he wound up in the end with 50.
I know, but in each,
58.
I said each justice met a 60-vote threshold.
But when
They
the
all
American
four did.
Bar Association says that Judge Gorsuch is highly qualified right now, do you believe he's highly qualified?
Well, the issue is what his ideology is. You know, he says he's going to call it right down the middle. But someone who was so fervently supported by the Federalist Society, which has had a generation-long goal of moving the courts way to the right, why are they doing that? Why are they spending $10 million, these hard right groups, to support him? Is it because he's going to be a neutral judge and call balls and strikes? I don't believe so. And if you look at his early history and his court cases, they don't indicate that as well. What I found most troubling, he almost has an instinctive reaction in too many cases to side with the big corporate special interests rather than the middle-class person, average person who needs help. And the courts are often the only recourse average folks have.
We got to let you go. I know you're rushing off. Senator, you've been generous with your time. Thank you very much.
Wolf, it's always good to be on with a Buffalonian, someone from Buffalo.
Thank you very much. We love those upstaters. I know you do, too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chuck Schumer of New York. He's from downstate. I'm from upstate. We have more breaking news coming up right after this.